Welcome to State of the Art Southern Illinois, a podcast by the Marion Cultural and Civic Center. Today, our guests are Shelley and Gayland from the Marion Carnegie Library, talking to us about cosplay and the Carnegie Cosplay Con that they have coming up next week, July 21st. We also have joining us Travis Westbrook and Gayland Jenkins, both in separate interviews to talk about their experience doing cosplay at different national conventions across the U.S. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Josh.
So, Shelley, Gayland, you've got a really cool event coming up.
We do.
And what is that event?
We've got our Carnegie Cosplay Con. First time we've ever done it. So we are just trying to go off traditional, like you see at San Diego, and even Saluki Con is, I believe, the kind of closest around here. Super low key, just trying to bring it to Marion. So we've got our costume contest. Shelley has an amazing part of it coming up with princesses, sing-alongs. We've got scavenger hunts, different prizes. So it's all ages, just very accessible, which is what we were trying to go for.
We have Mrs. Illinois Earth. Trish Zoller is going to be there as part of our scavenger hunt, and the Princess Sing-Along. I'm real excited about that. We've got Marion High School choir girls coming in as our princesses, and we're going to sing Elsa, and we're going to sing Rapunzel, and we're just going to have so much fun. I can't wait for this event.
So that's really going to add the all-ages aspect to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Families can enjoy that. They can do the scavenger hunt. We're going to have a photo booth on the main floor, so the photo booth is a great place to, get memories of the amazingness of Marion Carnegie Library.
So let's dive in a little bit to what brought each of you to Marion Carnegie Library and kind of your background. And Shelley, where did you grow up? How did you start?
I grew up in Marion. We moved here when I was 3 from Kansas City. And my dad worked at John A., and my mom eventually started a shoe store, Feet First, here on the square. And I grew up Marion High School, class of 88. And then I moved away and taught for about 12 years. And then
Where did you teach?
I taught several places, but Maroa, Illinois, and then Normal, Illinois.
Okay.
And then I had 4 kids all at once. And so then we moved back to Marion, and I stayed home with them for quite a while before I started working as a children's librarian at Marion Carnegie Library.
That sounds like kind of the perfect background.
Yeah. I was really into authors. Like I was a groupie before you could follow people on the internet. I have a collection of signatures from famous authors, Newbery winners, Caldecott winners. Mm-hmm. Like Eric Carle is like my prize possession, that he signed a couple of books for me, and I got to meet him. And Tommy DePaola.
So your deep passion for children's literature and children's authors far predates
ever working at but
this library or any library.
Right. And the children's position came open, and one of my dear friends texted me, and she attached the opening, and she's like, you.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, maybe. And I talked to my family, and here I am.
Awesome.
Yeah. Almost 5 years later.
Gayland, where'd you grow up?
Here in Marion, very similar thing. And my degree ended up being in English literature, and that's kind of how I fell into libraries. But I had always worked, at the middle school library and the high school library, and I've been at Marion Carnegie Library for almost 8 years. So since I was 16 years old, I was a shelver all through high school and college. And originally my degree, I was working on getting my MLIS, Masters of Library Information Science. I kind of switched that around during, all the fun COVID time. So a lot of my academic background is with, equitable access in public libraries and making sure that we are a community resource above anything else, making sure we get literacy to children. But also just I get to do fun stuff like this.
And so, obviously, it's been in you and part of you all of your life.
All this time. There is a school project that was under my bed for forever that I did probably in 8th grade And there's a spot where it's like, my dream job is working at Marion Carnegie Library. And then when I was 16, Miss Jenna Griffith, amazing high school librarian, helped me get my job there. And it's
awesome.
Just been perfect ever since. I love it here.
Awesome. I can't think of two better people to be running these programs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
We're having a lot of fun.
You're having fun,
Yeah.
and that translates.
Yeah.
That energy comes through. It comes through in what you're doing, in the vibrancy of what you're doing, and how you're affecting the lives of the children here in the community.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful. So let's look at the event that you've got coming up. What is cosplay?
So cosplay's been around for a really long time. It's, what's that word I'm looking for? Not palindrome.
I don't know what word you're looking for, Caitlin. I'm really sorry.
Two smushed up words that mean costume play, costume role play.
Okay.
So the way we had described it to people that were like, what even is that? Halloween for adults. Mm-hmm. We see
Masquerade. I've called it masquerade.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how far back this has gone, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just, 1990s Japan or 1930s sci-fi. It's, masquerade, 16th century. Marie Antoinette used to dress up. So this has always been a thing.
So the tradition goes back to like the traditional costume parties, masquerades.
Absolutely, yeah.
The big costume balls in the aristocracies.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know, where that stems from, if it's, just wanting... that's the appeal of cosplay for me, is just having fun as an adult. There's some stigma with Halloween, but if you just want to be something else, dress up, have fun to something that connects with you, like Star Wars or Marvel or anime, that's something that you can enjoy whether you're professional at it or not.
So you mentioned sci-fi 1930s.
Yeah.
How does that tie into cosplay? What's that?
So I think the first way it kind of came to America, sci-fi 1930s New York was the first kind of cosplay con that they had. So pop culture at that time in America was very much sci-fi westerns.
Should I assume that they didn't call it cosplay then?
They did not call it cosplay then. I don't know if they had a different word for it. It was a convention though.
So they had a convention,
yes.
And they had a costume contest at the convention.
Yes, yeah. So very much early pioneers of that. And then, waves in and out, always reflected by whatever the pop culture is at the time.
So the convention culture for specifically science fiction goes all the way back to the 19th. So 90-year history of...
Yeah, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, again, pop culture
So
at the time,
we were celebrating the weirdness
forever.
for almost a century
Geeks.
now.
I like the term geeks. It's friendly.
Yeah.
The geek culture
and
has
proud
been
of
celebrated
that.
for a
Yes.
long time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I had no idea there was such a history behind the conventions that are right at the heart of geek culture.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. Okay, so cosplay, as we know it today, kind of initially came out of those sci-fi costume contests in the 1930s.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned the 1990s in Japan. What?
Yeah, so the kind of rebirth where we start to see it again, where we're reintroduced to it in the mainstream, is Japan adapts it through anime. It's, we now have a lot of more access to television, different pop culture, less on just whatever we're seeing on TV,
And that's all reflected in what we have at the library now with our graphic novel collection, our manga and anime collections.
Yeah.
So, and we're seeing a huge jump in kids reaching for that as kind of a stepping stone in their reading journey, and also as just, how much fun is it to pull out,
And we're
those kinds of graphic novels.
manga and anime kind of the lead-ins to the graphic novels after comic books. Was that a natural step?
Probably, yeah, it seems like it.
I would believe so. And, we get to see there's still, sometimes stigma in the academic and library community where I see parents especially really are just against graphic novels, nothing with pictures. But it becomes this stepping stone to where if they choose to go forward with literature that is a little less stigmatized, chapter books, it's a gateway book.
And at the same time, I know a number of adults that still enjoy the graphic novels.
They're gorgeous.
I mean, purely, what this is all about and what we're all about here at the Civic Center is the art of it. And they're filled with such beautiful artwork, characters that are so finely crafted, worlds that are so finely crafted and detailed and consistent. And there's such a beauty to creating a world that something lives within that can be consistent from cover to cover.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't, when we talk about the westernization of cosplay, we hear the word Comic-Con. So you think about DC, you think about Marvel, and over years we've seen, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Endgame was the top grossing film, I believe, for a long time. I don't know if Avatar has surpassed it again. But so when we see this rise of, nerd culture, which I don't mean in derogatory at all. You've seen me. You know what I like. You see that, and that's where we get this from. And so comic books at the library, we have tons, and that's what we're seeing kids reach for. And so we want to foster that in any way that we can.
Do you think that there has been a kind of greater acceptance of geek culture within the U.S.?
Yeah.
Over the last, say, decade?
It's become much more mainstream.
I mean,
part of it's because of the Marvel acceptance, but the Star Wars community and the addition
Wars
of all
community.
the extra parts to that storyline. Yeah, it's definitely more.
Do you think that the television show Big Bang Theory had anything to do with that as well, as far as kind of popularizing some of the geek culture? Because that television show was such a success.
Yeah.
But so much of that television show really focused on geek culture, purely based on the personalities of the characters within that show. That somewhat normalized geek culture to the U.S. as a whole, and potentially worldwide as well. That television show isn't isolated to the U.S.
No. Yeah, I think, as far as pop culture goes, we're in front of more screens. I like to think, with libraries and cars, things are more accessible. They can come to us. They can look at these things. And so it kind of is a fun thing to, wrap your worldview around and escape into. And cosplay is a part of that, right? Escapism and just having fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of escapism, you just finished your escape room
we did. It was much fun.
Which had cosplay elements because there were people dressed up as Star Wars.
There were a few people dressed up.
Yeah.
Don't know who they were.
Yes.
And how did that go? How was the escape room?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
We had, what did you say?
192 people came through.
Almost 200 people came through.
Wow.
And our numbers, we count people who walk in the door at the library every day. And so our numbers each day were way higher than we normally expect. Just people we'd never seen before walking in to experience our escape room. And we were going for the silly and the absurd and not too serious at all. They had to shoot a stormtrooper in one room, and one of the shots was way up high, obviously not on the stormtrooper. For a good reason, because they always miss, right? So we were diving in to all of that, all the story of it.
And this, of course, taps right into the geek culture because it was Star Wars based.
Yes.
And so that's kind of a precursor to your next event with having all of that there.
Yeah. But we have new costumes, just so you know. Chewbacca's not making and I don't think General Hux will be.
No, he won't
at
be.
the cosplay. It'll be a whole new. We have a few costumes.
Let's not from you guys.
No.
But somebody's perfectly willing. And open.
Somebody else can be Chewbacca.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
That's the beauty of cosplay.
Yeah,
is
you can have 5 Chewbaccas and it's okay.
What do you think is important about cosplay to an individual that does it? Why do you what gives it its credence and its importance that people will travel and invest time in a hotel for a weekend and paying admission to a convention for them to do cosplay, as well as investing in building the costumes themselves? So what do you think is the appeal there for cosplay to cause people to invest their own money and invest their own time so greatly?
Yeah.
What is that appeal?
I think, we talked about the escapism briefly, but just our cosplay con is all ages, but being an adult and being able to just sort of escape your day job and your responsibilities and put on an outfit of a character that resonates with you and having fun. And then there's a community aspect to it. We try to make the library a place that's not just for literacy. It's a community where you can come together and find like-minded people, find your friends. So it's a group of people that very much all want the same thing and just want to have fun. And I love that,
I think some people are about the build. They want to figure out a way to make screen appropriate stormtrooper costumes, or they want to mash up and have, Iron Mandalorian or, Sailor Moon Knight. Those are the ones I've seen most recently.
Yes.
And they're so funny that, the blonde hair coming out of the completely white costume. So funny. Just.
Do you think there's an aspect of escapism to that as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, as an adult, you definitely see people on Halloween that think, oh, adults can't do that.
It's for the children.
So fun.
It is so fun.
Why does it have to be just for kids?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And we do that at the library
we
for the
do.
programming, right? We dress up for our.
programming.
It's for the programming. I was fairy godmother for the children. It was all for the children. But
Always all
do
for the
I
children.
enjoy this? Oh my gosh, yes.
So much.
Much fun to have the kids look at you a little differently and be excited or even scared.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, luckily my Chewbacca mask didn't actually roar because there were a couple of little kids that were just like, absolutely not. Am I going in a dark room with that furry thing? Absolutely not.
I love it.
They all did.
And
They all made it.
The beauty of the costumes with what you do specifically is it transports the children out of just story hour,
Right.
or whatever the event is that you're part of, and takes them further into that story and further into that experience.
Yeah. It gives them an opportunity to be a part of that universe, right? And I think that's what cosplay does too.
Yeah.
I get to dress up and I am now part of Star Wars, or I am now part of,
Yeah.
whatever fandom you're into,
Yeah.
Marvel or whatever it is.
And like you said, it creates a community as well. It's people of the like mind that
Yeah.
that invest their time into the craft, into the build. Let's talk about that a little bit. There's some online sources of cosplay purists say that you have to literally build and create everything that you wear in true cosplay.
Right.
What we're doing this weekend is a little bit more gentle and a little
Yeah.
bit less serious than that. Or it's next weekend.
It
right?
is next week, yeah.
But the purists for the big the big conventions with big cosplay events and competitions, all of those big competitions require you to build or make everything from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people, that do this professionally, and I'm so impressed. Make money off of it. There are professional groups that, can attend and, come perform. It's really, really neat. And we do have some resources for stuff like that. We have a really lovely tech lab makerspace area. And, next year we're going to have sewing machines. So we'll definitely be doing some kind of progress like this. But we also have 3D printing. So there's tons of stuff where the kids can make their own fun costumes if they love to go that in depth.
And P&G, doesn't that go how high? How right?
That is ages 10 to 18.
18, right. So even into
Yeah, even into the children's.
the teen, and they can participate in all of that.
Yeah.
And did you say 3D printers?
We have 3D printers.
So you have 3D printers, you're going to have sewing machines. And so all of those things together is perfect for a cosplay lab, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this week coming up, I've got an event. We're doing cosplay makeup. TK Kelly is coming to teach that. And we've done even different programs in the past, where the teens last summer, I believe, made some Minecraft pickaxes. They've made Harry Potter wands. All that interesting, again, nerd culture stuff I just love to foster. We've done Fandom Fridays where I focused on Marvel and Anime Club, and they really love that stuff. So when we do events like Cosplay Con, I'm attempting to cater it to them. Since this is a place they're already here, this is where their community is, I want to make it somewhere they want to be, somewhere that's tailored just for them.
Well, and with the projects that you were just talking about, with building those things, they're setting up and learning already for cosplay
Yeah.
without realizing it through the prop building. If you will, it's props
Yeah.
for a costume that you've been building in workshops already.
Yeah.
And so it's perfectly set up that you're kind of setting that baseline of here's how you can create things.
Yeah.
You can take these skills that we use for these things, apply them to other things to create the costume that you want.
Yeah.
And basically you're supporting the development of cosplay culture
Absolutely.
through that department already.
Yeah.
And hopefully drawing in other people who are interested in it and haven't before visited the library, right? That's always our end goal, is to bring people in and say, hey, we're more than just books.
That's what I love literacy. I love being an access to free materials, but I love being a community space more than anything else. A good safe space, a free space, that's safe and inviting.
Yeah.
So one goal out of Cosplay Con is to get new people into the library. Yeah. In creating Cosplay Con, Carnegie Cosplay Con.
Carnegie Cosplay Con.
We love our alliteration.
What was the initial goal in creating this? What are you trying to create with this?
Yeah, again, that was just to cater to the patrons that we already have, but again, to draw more people in. We saw that with Star Wars Escape Room, to make people know that we are more than just books.
And to increase the visibility.
Yeah, and to foster
in the community.
They learn that this is the stuff that goes on here. If they even come just for Cosplay Con and then they say, oh my gosh, you have all these comics. Oh my gosh, you have all these graphic novels. You have video games. I can hang out here for free. Nothing costs any money. Like, that's a wonderful way to draw people in and explain that, hey, we're a helpful part of the community and we want you here.
And will you have some things on display that kind of cater to the cosplay crowd?
Absolutely.
To kind of show off what you have as assets at the library as well?
Sure. There'll be places.
Yeah. We'll always have,
vignettes.
Yeah, we'll definitely have, our comics out. We've still got some of our Star Wars decor out. If anyone hasn't visited Miss Shelley's children's department.
Yeah. I created the Moon of Endor.
Ooh.
You need to come see it. It's pretty awesome.
Wonderfully immersive.
Some Ewoks.
Yeah.
Some AT-ATs. They're in there. Nothing is to scale. Please don't get on to me about that. I know it's not. It's just not. But yeah, I made a little corner for the Moon of Endor.
That's awesome.
It was fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
So you said it's all ages.
All ages, yeah.
And let's review one more time. What are the events for the younger kids?
So from what time did we say? 2:30? 2 to 2:30, we're doing the Princess Sing-Along. And during the whole time, there is the photo booth and the scavenger hunt where you go to try to find certain things in the library. And we'll have that set up. And part of that is Trish Zeller from Mrs. Earth, Illinois. She's going to be there. And then we've got the judging, and that starts at 3.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we'll judge people, and then we have prizes, awards for best. Yeah. What are some of the awards for best?
We've got best impression, best group cosplay. I'm really just hoping for a family that's going to come all in Star Wars.
Oh, no, Incredibles. I want the Incredibles. Wouldn't that be awesome? Mr. and Mrs. Incredible.
Groups for your friends, best impression, best cosplay overall. We've got different age groups, runners up.
Yeah.
There's prizes for the scavenger hunt that are really, really cool. Again, popcorn snacks.
Yeah.
Little anime marathon.
You mentioned something that I don't think we've really touched on yet. You mentioned best impression.
Yes.
So one part of cosplay that is about more than just the costume is that whenever cosplayers engage in a convention, they are in character from the time they walk in the door to the time they leave. And so it is a performance art as well.
Yeah. Some cosplay, can be abbreviated as costume play, but there's also a costume role play aspect to it, kind of like LARPing. My brain
tell people what LARPing is.
Live action role play,
Thank
right?
you.
So Ren fairs, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of stuff. But yeah, my brain always goes to the character actors at Disney World. Very, very similar to that, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're going and you are that person. You don't have to do that when you're coming to this. We're going very low key.
Yeah.
But if you want to go that hard and that ham, absolutely, I'm so excited for it.
And it's kind of cool just to have a phrase or two.
Yes.
If you're going to be an Ewok and you say jub jub, or you're going to be, I don't know, what, if you're going to be Chewbacca, then you better make sure the mask roars kind of thing.
Well, and if we're looking at the cosplay and convention world, one of the experiences is not just for the people that are there dressed up as cosplay,
Right.
but the people that are at the convention that are interacting with them.
Yeah.
And they're interacting with them as the character, and they're getting that experience,
Yeah,
which is just as cool as
for sure.
as any other aspect of it, is that you are becoming a performer, and there's an art to that as well as there's an art to the build. But there's an art to becoming that character and embodying that character and representing it for people who are passionate about it and who love it.
Absolutely.
And so there is an assimilation that happens between the attendees of the convention as well as the cosplayers. And that interaction, that attention, that excitement. Whenever somebody that's at a convention sees a cosplay mashup that they never would have thought of before.
Yeah.
Say, take Iron Man, but do Iron Man in steampunk.
Yeah.
And seeing a steampunk Iron Man that they automatically know is Iron Man because all of the right components are there, but it's all done in a steampunk version. People get excited about that. People love that because it's a creativity that connects to a character that they love and that they're passionate about that they've never thought of in that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
You can do it with like decades too. I've recently saw somebody do a 1920s Loki in a flapper dress.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so the headband, right? Because that's very 20s, and had the horns. So cute. And it was not complicated. It doesn't have to be. We're not asking for complex and paper mache and
every part of it doesn't have to be film ready, accurate costume. So much of it's about fun.
Yeah.
And representation. People being able to see you and know that you're that character or a representation of that character.
Yeah.
Without you being the full film ready character.
Which can be so intimidating, right?
It can be so intimidating. Whereas a friend of mine does and builds costumes professionally for cosplayers. And she's always working on new shoes that have different characters or different character representations.
Yeah.
Or building dresses that are representative of a character that aren't necessarily,
Yes.
that character's costume, but you automatically know upon seeing them, oh,
Yeah.
that's a Doctor Who dress. Doctor Who is another aspect that is
Really
widely represented in the
Love
cosplay
that
world,
too.
as well as Harry Potter.
Yes.
All of the not just sci-fi but fantasy
Yes.
is deeply involved and rooted in these things.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much pick any book character.
Yeah.
And somebody will cosplay
Yeah.
that character. I can't think of any specific series that has not had somebody pull out elements. And I think it's awesome when they add just the little touch, like a little button that, oh, it's grape soda. Oh, you're from Up. You've got something small in your purse or on your belt or on your shoes.
Yeah,
that
and it's the
represents
details.
something. And if you catch it, then you feel like you've won a scavenger hunt. It is like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
So much fun to do all that.
This sounds like so much fun. Tell me all the details one more time.
Yeah, Cosplay Con, Carnegie Cosplay Con, next Thursday, July 21st, 2 p.m. You can register before or the day of. Everything is always free. We've got a costume contest, all ages. You can do just best cosplay. You can come as a group. You can come and do an impression. All of that's optional. There will be snacks. There will be a photo booth. There will be a scavenger hunt. Really cool prizes. Just Princess Sing-Along.
Princess Sing-Along.
Which may be the highlight.
Thank you, Marion High
Princess
School Choir,
Yes.
for providing us princesses.
It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be amazing.
I'm so excited for the library and for this event. Thank you for joining me today, Caitlin, Shelley. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Josh.
This is going to be so much fun. I look forward to seeing pictures online.
Yes.
We will take so many.
I'll possibly stop in
Oh,
and
yeah.
see it live because
Yeah.
I really, really want to see the costumes.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And now for a brief conversation with Travis Westbrook of Marion, Illinois, discussing cosplay, his approach to it, and his experiences in Indianapolis at PulseCon. Travis, thank you for joining us today.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. So, you've done cosplay for a couple of conventions now.
Yes.
What got you into cosplay to begin with?
Well, I do theater. I'm an actor with local productions and whatnot, so I have that aspect. But there's something appealing to everybody about dressing up and wearing costumes and whatnot. And so when I discovered cosplay, I'm like, there are other adults like me, doing this. So that's what prompted me to do it. So I've gone to a couple Comic-Cons in the past year.
So you essentially discovered that there was a community there, a like-minded community that you could be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And so moving forward, after you decided you wanted to do this,
mm-hmm.
how did you choose your first character that you were going to cosplay?
Well, the first character that I cosplayed was from the Princess Bride movie, the 1987 movie. The character Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I was looking in the mirror one day, and I have long hair, and I thought, what kind of a character could I play that has long hair? Because I didn't want to wear a full mask or anything like that. I want to meet people. I want them to see my face. And then I just looked, and he popped in my head, and I thought that was real cool. So it took me a while to put the costume together over a few months, but
and I see a resemblance to a young Mandy Patinkin there. That totally works.
Oh yeah.
And so with your first con,
mm-hmm.
what was your experience like once you got there?
Oh, me and my brother had a blast. We both went.
Did he cosplay as well?
Yes, he. I don't know if you're familiar with video games, but there's a Viking game called Valhalla's Creed. He's all about Vikings. So he got the armor, a big foam axe, war paint on his face, shaved his head down, all kinds of stuff. He was a real bad-looking guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like there at the con?
Well, since it was our first one, it was all kind of really new, but people were really friendly. We got to talk and meet with a lot of new people. Got to see all kinds of stuff. There was too much to buy. We were broke by the end of it. We got to participate in our first Comic-Con costume contest, and there were lots of games. It was just a big place just to hang out and meet people.
Now, with the costume contests, are there like different degrees within the contest? Are there different levels for like beginner versus like advanced? Like how does that contest work?
Well, this one, there was almost a kerfuffle. Like they almost disqualified people, and people had to fight back because it wasn't labeled correctly in the rules. Apparently, cosplay is, for a lot of people, is you have to make the costume 90% yourself, and a lot of people, that was not in the rules. So people, it was just a glorified costume contest for a lot of people. They just showed up wearing stuff. So there was a bit of a kerfuffle to address that criteria, and they, for this competition, they went over it because it wasn't clear in the rules. But as far as categories, I think there were, some for kids and then some for adults. But and it was on a first come, first serve kind of a base. But yeah, it was pretty general. Pretty
okay. So, and you were part of that competition.
Mm-hmm. And
so do you come up on stage and like show off your costume? Do you talk about it? Do you do something in character? Like how does the actual action for you in that competition work?
Well, I only got to the first stage, which was you stand in front of a panel of judges like on America's Got Talent, and we spitball, and they had me do the line. They got such a kick out of it. It was so much fun, and so did my brother. But then once you get past that stage to the preliminaries, then you get to go up on the stage yourself and
in front of like general audience.
Yes, and kind of do your Barbie walk across the catwalk and whatever. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very cool. And so you obviously enjoyed it because you went to another con after that. And how did you make your choice for your second character for the second con that you went to?
I could not come up with one to save my life, and the Comic-Con was coming pretty quickly. I was going because a bunch of celebrities I really wanted to meet were there, but I'm like, I want to dress up. So One day, me and my mother were spitballing, it was family dinner, and I said, I need something, who could I play that has long hair? And she was watching Encanto, the new Disney movie, and she's like, you could go as Bruno. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And it was so much fun. There were a lot of kids there dressed as characters from the show, and they lit up when they saw me. We took pictures, and it was a lot of fun.
Wonderful. So where was the first one that you went to?
They were both at the same place,
Okay.
Indianapolis at PulseCon.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Very cool. So for you, it started about community.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're there and you're interacting with people at the con,
Mm-hmm.
what do you gain from that?
Social skills, more confidence, and that's what I love about cosplay. It's an icebreaker. The first day I was there, I was in my street clothes and nobody would talk to me. But then you put that costume on and it's like boom, boom, boom. People want to talk, and it's a good icebreaker. It really kind of helps you to get chill, and helps people get to know each other.
And is the opportunity to be in character an aspect of breaking that ice for you? As in, whenever you're interacting with these people,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to get out of your own insecurities because you're interacting as Inigo Montoya or you're interacting as Bruno initially.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're in character, does that give you that opportunity to then interact on a different level than you would have outside of character and costume?
It depends. Some people, they asked me to quote lines, left and right, say the line. So, it's not like I was playing the character the whole time I was there, but it was a good, like I said, it was a good icebreaker. It got people to talk to me,
Mm-hmm.
which helped me to talk to them because, I'm always nervous about making the first move to people. So, when people came to me, then it allowed me to relax and, flow with them.
And people came to you as the character, which is a great bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that cosplay is a great way to overcome your natural insecurities and allow you to meet new people and create a new community that you can thrive within?
Oh, for sure. We're living in a day and age where, as adults, you have to stick to a certain criteria, societal regime of, properness and, your job and whatever. So this is a chance for people to just, kind of let their hair down and, just...
Literally in your case.
Yeah, just a chance to let, themselves be who they are, without fear of ridicule.
So it's really, cosplay is a great modality for true self-expression.
Oh, yeah.
And embracing yourself as you are through the characters that you embody.
It allows you to, express your inner child, your inner artist, your, everything that you are that we don't get to show on a daily basis.
So do you plan on going to more
Oh, heck
cons?
yeah. Heck yeah. As my budget allows, but yeah, there are Comic-Cons every day all over the nation. It's just a matter of, time, travel, and, working out your job and whatever.
And so as much as it will allow, finances and time will allow you to, you're going to jump into this world even deeper.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing the characters that you create, and seeing the complexity of the characters and the costumes develop further as your skill develops in building those costumes.
Mm-hmm. That'll come with time.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we haven't really talked about much is the build and creating the costume.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for you?
Well, for me, because, I'm still kind of in the beginning stages, it was a matter of, kind of like your standard costume put together, find the right fabric, find the right stuff. But some of these cosplayers put me to shame with what they can do. Like, they know how to work with molten plastic and foam and I've seen people make the most bad looking costumes strictly out of cardboard. They're that good.
Mm-hmm. Because it's all about how you finish it. It's not about what material you start with.
Right. No, you don't have to have a full working Death Star or anything like that. I mean, it could be something as simple as PVC and, the right techniques and whatever, and it will look real, like it just came off a movie set.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look forward to seeing what you create in the future. I appreciate your time today, Travis. It's been really nice.
Thank you.
Learning more about this and kind of diving into that cosplay world a little bit.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. And now joining us, Gayland Jenkins, who cosplays as Doctor Who at different Doctor Who conventions and Comic-Cons across the U.S. Gayland, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, we're discussing cosplay this week, and you cosplay, to my knowledge, as Doctor Who number 4.
Correct. Tom Baker.
And you've cosplayed as other things and have another cosplay goal, but what exactly got you into cosplay to begin with?
It was actually my friends at the movie theater. We had decided to go to a Star Wars Celebration 2, and I was going to go as a fan just to enjoy the convention, and they said, we're dressing up. And I'm like, dressing up? And at that time, I don't think I've ever heard the term cosplay, and they didn't even say it. They were theater background kids that just had a job at the movie theater, and they're like, we're dressing up, and I was able to get them to make a costume for me, and that's what actually started it all. So
Star Wars seems like a pretty broad, general way for people to get involved in cosplay to begin with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember long before I knew cosplay was a thing, when I was in high school, when episode 1 was coming out, we camped overnight and we all dressed up for the movie premiere.
Right.
And until this moment, I haven't connected that to cosplay until right now. Yeah. But so I guess there's a little bit of a background there for me.
Yes.
And so I understand it a little bit more now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But Star Wars seems like a great bridge to get into it. After that, what was your path through cosplay after that?
So I got interested in a reboot of Doctor Who, and I was watching it, and there was a character from the classic show that was profiled, and I was like, they have Doctor Who conventions, and I remember if I can grow my hair out long, I can actually look like the Fourth Doctor, and I wouldn't have to wear a wig. I can actually just pull it off naturally. And what I did was I purchased a scarf, but I assembled my pieces of my outfit by inspiration of reading a cosplay website. They said, just go to your grandfather's closet, pull out his old clothes, then get you a scarf, and you're basically the Fourth Doctor. And I just went to Goodwills and thrift stores, and my cosplay evolves. I just continue to assemble it until I find, I think, a perfect piece, if you will. So.
And from what I've seen, it's pretty accurate at this point.
Yeah, it's and Tom did have several variations, so it is nice that I can have a variation, because I can change the costume even throughout a convention. Saturday I can wear this version or that version. It's almost the same thing, but just little teeny tiny touches.
And have you primarily worn Doctor Number 4 to just Doctor Who conventions, or have you done it to any Comic-Cons?
Yeah, I've gone to several Wizard World conventions.
And Wizard World is in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, it's in St. Louis. Well, it's actually in all the major cities. As a matter of fact, it's now called Fan Expo. I think it just recently changed to that. And yeah, I've showcased him at Chicago and St. Louis. And I hope to get out there and showcase him some more. So the process of just wearing that outfit on a convention floor, mind you, there's everybody doing cosplays, but something just makes me feel like I'm there, I'm with my people, and if you will. So
for you, you got into it because you got invited to a convention and everybody else was dressing up, so you went along with that.
Right.
And then you found a natural connection to a character with the way that you look naturally that worked for you.
Right.
And within that, you've now found a community within cosplay?
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of people, all kinds of forums, people that will that you can reach out to. Like, again, I read that cosplay forum. But yeah, everywhere I go, especially the Doctor Who conventions, there is like a tight-knit group or a family of community there. And yeah, you can reference other people for tips on what to do. People, they look at me and tell me how jealous they are of me because my hair actually just does it, and I don't have to buy a wig or anything like that. So,
and for you, do you take on the character at some points?
oh gosh, yes.
And what does that look like?
I practice in front of a mirror. Sometimes I'll try to get my voice like Tom Baker's, which is so commanding when he talks to you, and his eyes when he looks at you, and then his smile. He has such a big smile. So when I actually practice smiling, every picture I have, I'll make sure you can see my teeth because I think that's one of the catchphrases. Fourth Doctor's all tooth and curls,
Mm-hmm.
and so. Yeah, I try to emulate that. I can't always carry the voice, so that it can get kind of tiring doing that. But, I'll get certain phrases in there. I'll be like, oh, Sarah Jane, or hello, I'm the Doctor, and trying to get that in the right sequence or cadence. Yeah. So,
and you find appreciation for that on the convention floor as well?
My appreciation comes from whenever people will come up to me and they're like, can I get a picture of you? I'm sorry to bother you. May I get a picture? And I'm like, that's the ultimate compliment I can get when I bring my cosplay to the floor. And if someone wants to stop me and get a picture of me, or they'll say, oh, you were my Doctor when I was a kid. And you can see them light up. And I mean, that made me light up, too. It makes me want to be tall more, and
you're fulfilling an emotional need for someone.
Yeah. Exactly.
That you don't even know, and it's a connection point as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, you sometimes just develop friends, through that weekend. Like they'll come by the next day, they might see me like, oh yeah, I remember, thank you for being nice and posing, for me, and I'll even ask, I'll give them an option. Do you want my sonic screwdriver out? Do you want the scarf wrapped around you? Do you want, a scary pose or a back to back pose? I mean, I'll do anything that they want to do. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's very fun.
And so there's another cosplay that you want to do at a future convention.
Yes. So
what's your next goal, your next idea that you're approaching?
Next goal, I hope to get a Stranger Things convention going on. They've had to be canceled because of COVID for a couple of years, but the guy who plays Dustin from Stranger Things, the season 2 just captured me. I really liked when they went searching for Dart and him and the character Steve. It's just a simple, comfortable cosplay. I think that's one of the reasons why I like it. But it's so recognizable. It's the maroon hoodie, jeans, and then it's the yellow dishwashing gloves that your mom used. You put those on in a bucket. And I showcased it once at a Halloween parade in Christopher, I think. Only one person, but they walked up to him and were like, Dustin from Stranger Things. I'm like, yes, you got it. I mean, that's cool whenever it can be kind of obscure like that, but somebody can recognize it. You're like,
but at a Comic-Con, everybody's going to recognize it.
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
Yeah, those are the people for it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And especially if it's a specific, to that convention, or to that genre or show. Yeah. It's so cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so with that one, did you see, you mentioned with the Doctor, you saw a physical resemblance to yourself, and that kind of led you to that. Mm-hmm. But this one's more of an emotional response to a scene that led you to it.
Yes. I just really like the camaraderie of the kids. So it takes place in the 80s, and I mean, that was the pinnacle of my childhood. It just took me back. And it was kind of weird because I was like, wait a minute, can I cosplay a kid? And so I've often told people, like, yeah, I'm just the adult version of Dustin. Or what if there was an alternate universe and they got stuck and it's just adults now having to sort it out? Just some excuse like that. But yeah, I mean, it was so exciting, just that camaraderie, and it took me back to, being a kid again. So yeah, walking along a railroad track with your friends, it harkens to Stand By Me as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's infectious. It gets to be excited. It makes me want to, get out there and show that cosplay, and hopefully maybe I can connect with somebody else too.
Yeah,
with it. So,
definitely at Stranger Things convention, or Wizard World or Fan Expo as they call it now. Any one of those, I can't imagine there wouldn't be very many people that wouldn't recognize you immediately.
Right.
Wonderful. So, with all of this, you find community at the heart of it. And what do you say that, you light up whenever people ask you for a photo, but what at the heart of you does cosplay do for you specifically?
It makes me happy to be able to embody, like a childhood memory, or like, my hero, Tom Baker, that's the Fourth Doctor's my hero. One of the things that he did in his time as the Doctor, sometimes he'd break the fourth wall, and I'd be laying on the living room floor watching TV, and all of a sudden he'd go, even my sonic screwdriver won't work on this. And he went back into the scene, but for that brief moment, he talked to me, and I was like, I gotta go. I ran into the kitchen. I grabbed like a hand mixer that my mom had out of her kitchen drawer, and then ran back into the living room. And she said, yelling at me, "Don't break it! Don't break it!" And I'm like, I don't know, but he just talked to me, and I've got to help him. And that feeling of it just gets me excited. Matter of fact, I've even thought about doing that as a cosplay. My 10-year-old self, and I wear Star Wars T-shirt like I have on now probably, and jeans, and I'm going to try to find a hand mixer, and I'm just going to wear it to the Doctor Who convention I go to. There's two. There's a Chicago TARDIS during Thanksgiving weekend, and there's Gallifrey 1 that takes place in mid-February in LA. And just one day I want to wear it, just see what people will say, because I know some people will recognize me as the Fourth Doctor, but they'll like, "Where's your outfit?" And I'm like, I'm 10-year-old me watching Doctor Who, and because that really gets me excited. The way he could have drawn people in and make them, that kid want to do something. Like he talked to me. I didn't realize it was televised. It was just talking to me, and so.
But it obviously struck a chord and created a memory.
Oh yeah,
and that's what's the most important about all of this, especially with the cosplay and the conventions and the community and society that's built out of that, is that the relevance and the memories that are built from that.
Right. Yeah.
I've got a kind of off the wall question for you.
Yeah.
Like cosplay is kind of built around like cosplay, and the conventions as a whole are kind of built around the concept of geek culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, and it's something that we discussed in an earlier segment of this podcast, that I feel like there's a much greater embrace over the last, say, 10 years of geek culture than there ever has been.
Yes. Yeah. When I was in grade school, I was a nerd for liking Doctor Who or Star Wars. I remember some of the athletes that used to play with those dolls. I'm like, no. They're action figures. Hello, let me clarify that, And yeah, when the term geek came along, I don't know what it was about it, but I just loved it. And you're like, "Oh, you're one of those nerds." I'm like, "No, but I am a geek. I'm a geek for this or a geek for that, and I'm proud of it." So,
what exactly would you attribute the further popularity and acceptance of geek culture into the mainstream to? Is it the new prominence of the Marvel universe? Is it the new prominence of the Star Wars universe, and how that's been for the last at least 15 years taken into like the Lego movies, and how that's been popularized across both parents and children?
Right.
And so it's garnered this giant following that neither Marvel nor Star Wars have had alone.
Right.
And these things were so, those comic books and those movies
Oh,
and
yeah.
stories were so key to geek culture. But now that it's so mainstream and so accepted.
Right. I think shows like Big Bang Theory, said it's okay to be geek. Now, for them, they were all, of course, super smart. I always joke and say, "Yeah, I'm part of that group. I'm just the guy behind the counter serving a drink or something. I'm not a rocket scientist, So, but I am a geek like they are. So, but yeah, and like you said, yeah, the Marvel genre, that's a whole vast thing. I mean, the comics. I have a friend who's just a diehard into the comics. I'll say, or we'll go and discuss the movie that we watched, but then he'll say, but in the comics, da 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 da, and I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, wow, he's at a different level that I'm not even probably ever will be,
Yeah.
concerning that way. But yeah, it's so
I love that you mentioned Big Bang Theory as part of that because that was exactly what I said in the earlier segment that you haven't seen.
All right.
And so I agree wholeheartedly. Big Bang Theory and its popularity also helped to catapult that forward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you saw them friends, getting together, playing table games. Then they go out dressed up in the costumes to a party. I'm like, nobody did that with me in grade school or high school. But now I'm like, who can I get,
Yeah.
to come along with me? So,
Yeah, and it's so much more open now.
oh, yeah.
Gayland, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you,
Thank you
Josh.
for letting us into your experiences in cosplay and in geek culture and the new embrace of that.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, it's a great community to be a part of. Hopefully you'll find somebody that's welcoming to you and to help, the listeners to be able to express themselves. This is a way that they can maybe set themselves or their life maybe that may be struggling, set it off to the side for a moment and embody a hero and become that person. And yeah, it's just a whole new feeling and satisfaction.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you for joining us for State of the Art Southern Illinois, a podcast by the Marion Cultural and Civic Center, featuring artists, artisans, musicians, arts organizations, and arts events here in Southern Illinois, as well as national touring acts coming to the Marion Cultural and Civic Center. Thank you to Shelley and Caitlin from the Marion Carnegie Library. Thank you to Gayland and to Travis for being our guests today, sharing your cosplay experience with us. Special thanks to AJ Rice for the new intro featured on the video today, as well as being our associate producer. We'd also like to thank Carve for the soundtrack to today's episode. You can find new episodes here every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and any podcast audio platform. And now, for Just a Dream by Carve in its entirety.
the dream.